Hello and welcome back to ABG's Investor Days. With us today we have Björn Järnström, CTO and founder of Ferroamp. My name is Ophelia Aspemyr and I'm an equity analyst here at ABG. And with that said, please go ahead, Björn.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for inviting us today. So we can jump to slide number 1. And just to, is it possible for me to see the slides, by the way? Okay, anyway, we will continue. So if we start with slide number 2, so just to give you an introduction to Ferroamp, we are a fast-growing company within the renewable energy field. So we're building and delivering a hardware and software platform for integrating solar cells, energy storage, and electric vehicle charging in buildings. And this is very much driven by the energy transition and the strive towards more renewable energy. And the platform we have developed is modular, so we can cater anything from a small residential villa to a larger commercial facility. Last year we recorded net sales of about 77 million Swedish crowns, which has grown quite rapidly for the last couple of years. And we keep our target on 400 million run rate in 2022. And before telling you a little bit more about our technology and our customer offering, I would like to show you a little bit about the market context and the trends that we see in the energy industry, so you know where we are coming from. So if we go to slide number 3, so this is a recent example from Portugal, and so it's a large tender for a commercial utility scale PV installation, and one of the winning bids were 0.01 euros per kilowatt hour. So 0.01 euros per kilowatt hour. There is no other energy or electricity production source on Earth that can even come close to competing with this. And even if we were to apply this to Sweden, you might get 0.02 euros per kilowatt hours, which is still very good. And this is without subsidies. So solar is already, we have seen a very rapid growth in solar the last 10 years, and this is just the beginning. This will continue. And one challenge with all these massive deployment of solar is that you need to transport electricity to the place where it's needed, but you also need to store it in time so that you have access to solar electricity during the night or when the sun doesn't shine. And this is something that poses challenges to particularly the grid, both from a local and regional point of view. And another thing that we see is growing quite rapidly, if we move to the next slide, is the rapid growth in electric vehicles. And the race is over here. It's no longer a question if the electric car will outcompete the gasoline car. It's just a matter of when. And it's almost to that point now that we're not even counting years anymore, we're counting months. Until last year, electric vehicles was a high-end product for the sort of more wealthy owners, but this year we see a large palette of electric vehicles which are commercially and affordable from the big car manufacturers such as Volkswagen and Nissan and PSA, the PSA group. And these cars will need to be charged somewhere. And this is another thing that also causes stress on the electric grid, both locally within facilities, but also regionally. And this is some of the challenges that we address with our technology. So if we jump to the next slide. This is a comparison of the cost of energy versus the cost of the grid. So the blue bar represents the turnover on the Nordic Energy Exchange. That's the value of all the electricity being consumed in Sweden, about 40 billion crowns. Whereas the red bar is 50 billion crowns. That's the the grid fees that customers pay to get that electricity to their house. So already today, it's more expensive to transport electricity than it is to buy it. And obviously the production cost for energy is even lower. And this difference will only increase over time because the cost of energy is actually coming down because the cost of solar and the cost of wind is coming down. Although, that being said, you will still see a larger volatility in electricity pricing because sometimes you have a lot of energy and sometimes you have not so much energy. And then on the other side of that, all this intermittent production needs to be transported to where it's needed. And on top of that, you have intermittent consumption in terms of electric vehicles that need to be charged. So that will on the other side then drive up the cost for grid even further. And this is exactly where Ferroamp is coming in with our technology to address these challenges. So if we jump to slide 6, just to summarize the drivers we see in the market, you see here the solar inverter market, which is continues to grow, and you also have the electric car market, which is expanding even faster. And some of the overarching drivers here is the increasing use of renewable energy and the structural demand for more renewable energy, and the energy transition in general to move away from fossil fuels. Another driver that is becoming more and more important, but not although a lot of these technologies are not dependent on it, is regulatory incentives. And this is both from the European Union and also now from the new Biden administration to propose legislation that will even further speed up the energy transition. And then you have the technology development that is in general, I would say, improving our way of life with electric transportation and backup system and more reliable energy systems. Okay, let's jump into slide 7 to give you a little bit update on our technology. So what we have developed is an ecosystem based on hardware and software, and the different hardware components are power electronics. So in the upper left, you can see the Energy Hub inverter, which is the core product that we have in all of our facilities. Today, we have about 2,500 commercial installations in operation. And the Energy Hub inverter is a core component here. It's what you call an inverter. It converts between DC, direct current from solar panels or batteries, into AC current that you can transport on the public grid or use in your facility. But it can also go the other way, so we can, for example, take energy from the public grid and store it in a battery for later use. We also have a solar string optimizer, which is used to connect solar panels to this grid. We have EV chargers to connect electric vehicles to the same concept, and we have integrations with different energy storage technologies. And one central part of this is our software platform in order to integrate all of this, because I think that the true value of these technologies comes when you start to see them as a system and not as separate products. So it is when you can take solar energy that you get during the day, and then you can take an active decision whether that solar energy should be used in your building, stored in your car, exported to the grid, or stored in your local battery. So it's when you start to see this as an interacting system and you have control of it, that is when you really start to see synergies between these technologies. And that is why the software platform is so important. Can jump to slide number 8. And the software platform that we have developed is part of it is run on the systems themselves, and a big part of it is run on our cloud-based energy management system. So here our customers can log on and they can not only visualize how they produce and consume and store energy, they can also control and optimize and analyze their facilities. And I think this is really one of the keys here, and this is where we sets us apart from competition by the fact that we have real-time data, we have high-resolution data, so we have 1 second resolution data for most of the things that happens in an installation. And this is a very good platform to expand further and build new business models on top of that. For example, to do virtual power plants, or to have APIs to integrate with other system providers. We can do frequency regulation, for example. We can go to slide number 9. Another thing that I just would like to highlight, which is unique with our technology, is something we call phase balancing. This is a bit technical, but it's quite a good feature. Electricity in our buildings come in 3 wires. We have a 3-phase system. And in most smaller to mid-sized facilities, you have a varying degree of unbalance that limits how much power you can use. And this is particularly stressed when you are going to charge electric cars, because then you have a load that consumes quite a lot of power for a fairly long time, and that can then cause problems in your electrical supply. But with the phase balancing technology, we can actually enable this. You can even charge your car faster without overloading the mains fuses. And on top of that, you can use this technology to, in many countries, to reduce the fixed grid cost that you pay for connecting to the grid. And this is something this is actually a software function integrated in our inverter. And it's independent from solar cells and energy storage. So we have quite a lot of customers that are buying only our inverter for this feature. And just to sort of illustrate to you what type of customers we have, we can jump to the next slide. This is a mobile charging station that we supplied to Vattenfall, and it contains about 700 kilowatt hours of batteries. They are slowly charged from the grid 24 hours a day, and then you can come up with electric vehicles and fast charge them. Like in this case, it's electric snowmobiles, but it could also be electric cars, obviously. And this is one of the things that sort of illustrate what is happening with our grid now, because in many places the grid isn't strong enough to fast charge electric cars. But then you can use one of these solutions. So you can, like in this case, it's a ski tour, and the grid isn't strong enough, but then you can easily deploy this container and you can fast charge the vehicles. We can jump to slide number 11. This is another example from our customers. This is about 100 apartments in 3 apartment buildings. They have solar panels on the roof, and they have second life electric bus batteries in the basement. And all of this is integrated with our hardware and with a DC grid connecting the buildings, and then our software to manage the system. So we use it in the summertime, or they use it in the summertime to increase the self-consumption of solar electricity, and to in the wintertime to reduce peak loads. And even though these 2 examples, they look vastly different, and I can show you a bunch of more different use cases that are quite varying in size and features. But the thing that makes this scalable is our modular concept. Because and I like to compare this to Lego bricks, and if we're supplying a system to a residential house or a residential villa, we maybe supply 2 yellow bricks and 1 blue. But in apartment building like this, we're supplying 54 yellow bricks, 16 blue, and 8 red. And this is actually what makes the system scalable, and also the fact that today we're operating more and more through resellers and distributors, and we have provided them with the tools to design and dimension and commission these systems without our support. And this is also some part where actually our software platform comes in as very important, because even though these systems are sold by distributors and we may not initially know the end customer, when the system is commissioned, the end customer will log on to our portal, and we will start to get high resolution real-time data from the facilities. So even though they are sold by our channels, we still keep the main contact and with the end customer, and we have the possibility to integrate or interact with them and provide new services in the future. Okay, we can jump to slide number 12. So if we look at the last year or so, we have focused quite a lot on building our partnerships. As I mentioned, we're selling more and more to distributors and resellers. So we have added a couple of companies to that list. We also introduced our new generation of a solar string optimizer, which is designed for high volume production and where we can achieve much better margins. And we started to outsource production on our other products as well. So if we look at the near term strategic focuses, there are two things that we are focusing on. One is growth, and that is done by adding more different partnerships in order to expand to other countries in Europe, and also looking into how we can use our cloud-based platform to develop new services that gives us new sort of high margin revenue streams based on the data and the connection that we have with the end customers. And the last one is margin development, and this is done by industrializing what we call the generation 2.0 of our portfolio. And some of the products that we sell today do still have a touch of a little bit hand-built feel to it, and this is something that we are investing quite a lot in right now in order to design the products for mass production and design for manufacturing, design for test, so that we can improve our margins. And this is a work that is well underway. The first product has already sort of come out the end of this process, and we're now working on the other hardware products that we have to do the same journey with them. Okay, we can jump to slide number 13. So as I mentioned, we are growing quite rapidly. Last year, 77 million crowns net sales, and we have a scalable business model, and we are actually improving the scalability of this business models even further. And this is the main drivers here for scalability is industrialized outsourcing. Last year we were actually limited because we had so long lead times, so we did actually lose some orders because of that. And now, thanks to outsourcing, we have actually resolved quite a lot of those bottlenecks going into 2021, and we will continue working on that during this year. The other thing which is very important for scalability is digitalization of the customer journey. So this is something that helps our installers and the resellers to design and commission and deploy the systems. But very, very important is that the customer journey doesn't end there. That's just a start, because that is, as I mentioned, that is when the customer's facility is connected to our cloud-based system, and we start to get high resolution real-time data, and we can build new services on top of that and new features. So the intention here is that even though we are supplying a hardware product today, the thing that you buy is not sort of the end application and the end functionality. We can actually add more functionality after the system has been commissioned, and I think this is really a key here. So we have spent a lot of time to implement good over-the-air update procedures and ways so that we can add new functionality in the future and APIs, so we can build an ecosystem around our technology. And last but not least, then improving and building new partnerships and sales channels in Europe. Okay, slide 14. Thank you. So to summarize this, we're very well positioned in a rapidly growing market, and there are global megatrends that are driving this when it comes to the energy transition and new legislation and so on. And the system is modular and scalable because thanks to this modularity and the DC grid technology that we have, that's one of the sort of underlying technologies that enables this modularity. We can address anything from the small private villa to the large commercial facility. We have a proven revenue models and scalable business model, and we're continuing to even improve that further as we go. And also I would just like to highlight the DC technology, which is where we are actually one of the world leaders, and I would actually be so bold to say that we are the one who have the most commercial installations in operation using DC technology, and some really high-end applications where we have like office buildings with more than 1,500 load points on our DC grid. Yeah, that's essentially it. So thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you for presentation. As you said, Ferroamp is growing really fast, and you also have a focus on growing fast. But can you say something on when you expect to be profitable?
Yeah, so we expect to sort of reach net zero by the end of this year. So and this is mainly driven by the fact that we are increasing our volumes and we're continuing to work on improving our margins.
Okay, and you have a range of products today. Are you primarily working with developing this further, or are you working with new products today? And can you, in that case, say something about the new products?
Yeah, so all of the above, I would say. So we are developing a new generation of our products. This is partly one very important thing here is to improve the margins, of course. But another very important thing there is because at the same time we are adding new functionality such as backup and off-grid capability. So we get that integrated into the Energy Hub inverter. And when it comes to the new product side, one thing that we are working quite heavily in is EV charging, because I think that EV charging is really central to electrical installations in facilities in the future. Because so far electric vehicles has been seen a bit of a problem because they need a lot of power to charge, and you need to expand the electrical grid in order to cope with that. But with new technologies such as vehicle to grid, where you actually can discharge the car will also become part of the solution. So that is why it's so important for us to integrate them and also to see them as one of these as one part of this overall system. So yeah, that is one of the new products that we are working on.
And as you said, also energy storage is a hot topic. Can you say something about your levelized cost of storage compared to a commercial storage solution?
Yeah, I would say that we are roughly the storage systems we sell. The main cost driver there is actually the cost of batteries. So I would say that on the levelized cost of energy, we are on par with other companies in the business. But I would like to say that particularly because now we're operating mostly in Sweden, and it's not really a good use case to store energy and to really use energy storage for the sake of storing energy, because we still have fairly low electricity pricing in the Nordic countries, and the price volatility is, with a few exceptions this winter, hasn't been that severe, so that it actually makes sense to store energy from that aspect. So I think the big driver here is actually to use energy storage for reducing power consumption. And in that sense, we have actually designed our system so they can deliver higher power levels than a lot of our competitors that have focused more on sort of self-consumption of electricity, for example. So in those cases, we are actually more cost competitive than a lot of other companies on the market.
Mm. And should you say that this is your competitive edge, or should you say that it should be the phase balancing or the energy cloud, or what should you say?
Yeah, again, all of the above. Yeah, I mean, we have some unique features. It's the phase balancing that sort of creates a real instant value for the customers. But then I would say that the focus that we have when it comes to energy storage is working with peak power reduction and power management is also something that sets us a little bit apart, because this is where our customers are sort of seeing their pain points today. And then, of course, the software system and the APIs. I mean, being a still, even though we're growing, we're still fairly small, and I think that our success is not to do everything ourselves, but rather to have a software platform and have open APIs that enable and even encourage other vendors to integrate their systems and their functionality with our platform. So in a sense, you could say that their success becomes our success.
Okay, really interesting. I think we have to round up here. Thanks a lot for the presentation, Björn.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.